Hello, everybody. Ted, can I hear
Hello,
you?
everybody. Do you
I
hear me?
can hear you.
Oh, good. Let me see.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, and the settings are right this time. I don't know what Manila does to my settings. I think she deliberately tamps down my voice because she's trying to control my male privilege and make me unheard. Anyway, thank you so much for joining the TMI show with Ted Rall and Manila Chan. Manila is out today. Robby's filling in, and so Robby, thank you very much for doing that. And we're fresh off Deprogram. Just a reminder, Deprogram Q&A show is live in 2 hours at 12 noon on YouTube and Rumble. That's 12 noon East Coast time. So thank you for that. How are you doing, Robby?
I'm doing. It seems like I just saw you.
it's
Ted,
it's not long time no see. That's for sure.
No, for sure. Now I'm trying to pull up the reads for the show because I feel bad about you always having to read, and for whatever reason,
I can do it.
all I'm getting is a blank page.
Oh, well, I'm happy to do the honors.
Well, I appreciate it because unlike you are an educated Yankee, so you're able to read, and there's no pictures in there for me to look at.
Oh well, yeah. Well, as a person who traffics in pictures, I'm never against that. All right, shall we just get to it?
Sure. Yeah, Pollux is asking where Manila is. Manila is taking her boy to school, so she's doing this whole parenting thing, and I told her that's really kind of
Okay.
just dirty because she has an obligation to you, the viewer. She should be here. Children come and go; they're dispensable. I mean, you always just treat it like a Palestinian.
That's what the IDF says. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I mean, not only the IDF, but the American people and stuff, and yeah. And tomorrow, my son is going to be enlisting in the Marine Corps. And
Oh my God, is he really?
he is.
I thought we
He
said
is.
we weren't that wasn't permitted.
Here, you are able to enlist at 17.
Yeah, but you should not permit him to do so.
Yeah, well, I'm doing everything that I can to stop it. So we'll see what happens.
Oh my God, that I mean, how do you feel about that? For real?
It sucks. And I was talking to him about it. He's just like, well, it's the only way that I can really build a future for myself. If I don't want to go into debt going through school or whatever, this is what I want to do. I want to defend my country. I want to be a patriotic American. And it's like, you're not being a patriotic American. You are literally mortgaging your mind and your body for the Epstein class and for people who hate you.
I'm very surprised that he's so. I mean, is this like a rebellion thing or?
Yeah, I'm sure it's a big part of it. Because we were talking, he said, well, Robby, he said, well, he called me Robby. He said, well, Dad, you just hate America. I said, I don't hate America. I said, I love my country. I love my country so much. I want it to be restored to what the promise of it was. And I don't want to see you go fight and die for some soulless corporation or even worse, some foreign country on the other side of the world protecting pedophiles.
Yeah, and not to mention these fucking recruiters. They say anything. They just lie. They're just like, oh yeah, well, yeah, sure, we'll you're fine. You'll be able to do anything you want, etc.
No, but no, it's just him and a bunch of his friends from high school because he's a senior. Tomorrow's the first day of school.
Oh my God, they're all doing it together, like they're getting
doing
tattoos.
But they're doing it in what they call the buddy programs. You get a bonus.
Oh
You get all
my
these
God.
things. You get all these promises. So it's a lot of social pressure. And just like what we're talking about on Deprogram,
Buddy system, indeed. They're not going to serve together in the same unit.
Well, that's the promise that they're making. And I said, well, whatever this guy tells you, you need to get it in writing.
Yeah, they'll do
Because
their
they will promise
best.
you the moon.
Yeah, look, like Robby, I went and talked to those assholes, and they were like, "Oh, you're a cartoonist. You'll be able to go work at Stars and Stripes." And I promise this is not a segue to talk about the weird story at Stars and Stripes newspaper, which, if you want to know my thinking about that, go listen to the last DMZ, which posted Saturday. But they were like, "Oh, you could be a cartoonist for Stars and Stripes." I'm like, "Great. Will you put that in writing?" Well, no. You would definitely be, high up in like the journalism sector. Really? Could you put that in writing? Well, they send you where they need you. Oh, they'll help you out with college. How much do you need? $13,000 at the time, 1981. Oh, well, we do offer up to $5,000. So do I get $5,000? Well, up to $5,000. I mean, it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit.
It is, and that's what I was telling them. Is that they were going to promise you the moon. They'll do all these things, and it is incumbent on you to make sure this. Whenever you do this, that you get it in writing. Said this is the first adult decision you're going to make. And when we're talking to each other, it's like, Dad, there's no jobs here. I don't want to be a grocery boy all my life, and I don't want to go $100,000 into debt to try and start a career before I even have a chance to get married or get a house. So I mean,
There are other
I
options.
understand where it's just, well, what are they? There's not many.
Well, actually, it's better to work in a grocery store than to go kill brown people for fun.
Listen, I agree with you, but I mean that's where we are. I mean, it's just, are you want to be a mercenary for Israel, or do you want to be a bag boy at a grocery store? Do you want to have a chance to get married, or you want to have to live with your parents and then never get married?
Maybe Bluth Funk has a comment on this. Robby, show him the video of the veterans who were asked what they would say to their Army recruiter, and all they say is, fuck you.
I have, and I also talked to him about what happened with the bonus army back in the 20s. This is not new.
No, it goes back even further than that, right? Like in the Revolutionary War veterans were all promised land on the western frontier. Only the officers got it. The land grants were like, I mean, every generation of U.S. Army and other military veterans has been repeatedly lied to get to con them into service, and then thrown away like discarded snot rags when they were done with them.
No, I mean that's how it always is. That's how it always is. And
Yeah.
Ted, you know me. I don't beg.
Right.
I was begging him, do not do this.
Yeah, no,
Please
I
do
would
not
do
do
the
this.
same. If you need me to beg him, I will too. I mean, yeah.
It won't do. It won't do any good. He said, Dad, I want to serve my country, and it's not my fault that you hate it. That's
It's not
what he
serving.
said.
That's not serving your country.
It's not.
Yeah. I mean, look, I would be the first to volunteer if our country was under threat. That's just not the case. And that's the U.S. Army is not sent to defend the United States. And the last time it ever had to do that was arguably 1941. But
I mean, even then, that's debatable. I mean, why were we in the Philippines?
no, we
Why,
didn't need.
why were we in Hawaii?
Right.
Why were we in Guam?
We invaded Hawaii. All right. Well, let's. With that, I am sorry to hear that. And,
I was up. I mean, just on my hands and knees, and between and after the show today, I'm praying again, just begging God just to open His eyes, because I can't do it. Nothing I say matters. Nothing I say. He does not hear what I say.
Okay. Fuck. No, I mean, that's really, I mean, the thing is, I have met so many people who've gone this route. They all regret it. I've met people who were doing it while I sat next to a woman who was on her way to being deployed for the first time. She'd never been outside of New York City. She was 18 years old, and she was scared to death, and they were sending her to Iraq. The recruiter totally lied to her at the time and said, oh, you'll probably be doing like research, you'll be in Germany, doing most jobs are supply. No, they were sending her into the belly of the beast.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I do not
this
know.
is actually a good advice. Have him read Chris Hedges' What Every Civilian Should Know About War. It's good. It's worth reading. All right. Well, with that, shall we?
Sure.
Sorry. All right. Assume that there had been. Well, let's see. Can you do Jaws? Maybe you can do Jaws.
Let me see if I can do Jaws. I don't know if we have Jaws.
I think there's Jaws in there.
I'm waiting for them to slowly appear.
Oh,
There's
I don't have the Jaws.
I think that Manila is the keeper of the Jaws.
No, they're in the Rumble room. I mean, they're in the Rumble. Yeah, they're in the Rumble studio.
Oh, hold on. I think I might have it. Cultural appropriation at its finest.
Don't forget
Whitey has the Jaws.
Did you unjaws?
I did. I can see us.
Okay, cool. Moderna and Merck may have a genuine cancer breakthrough, but right now, investors and the public are being asked to take the drug maker's word for it. The companies announced their phase 3 Interpath 001 melanoma trial that met endpoints for recurrence-free survival and distant metastasis-free survival when personalized mRNA therapy intismeran autogene was combined with Merck's Keytruda. We've got to get like stuff that's written in English. Intismeran is an individualized neoantigen therapy. Tumor mutations are sequenced. Up to 34 tumor-specific neoantigens are encoded into synthetic mRNA. The resulting proteins are intended to train cytotoxic T cells to recognize and attack malignant cells. Sounds cool, I guess. But Moderna has released no phase 3 hazard ratios, absolute event rates, confidence intervals, Kaplan-Meier curves, whatever that is, overall survival results, or detailed adverse event tables. The full results are going to come at some point in the future. Nevertheless, Moderna's stock went up by over 177%. Earlier this month, the FDA approved Moderna's mRNA flu vaccine called mFlusiva. It's in its 40,000 person phase 3 trial. Flu-like illness occurred in just 2% of recipients versus 2.8% receiving a standard flu vaccine. That's a 26.6% relative vaccine efficacy. But the mRNA shot was substantially more reactogenic. Injection site pain occurred in 66% versus 30%. Fatigue in 45% versus 20%, and serious adverse events occurred in 2.2 versus 1.9%. FDA reviewers said that the safety concerns were basically nothing new was identified. Perhaps intismeran ultimately proves revolutionary. Phase 2 data were encouraging, but basically Moderna has issued a glowing press release, watched tens of billions of dollars pour into its market value, and the evidence is still out there. I have to admit, I don't much understand this story in its details, Robby.
I don't either, and I don't trust them.
Yeah, well, I think that's the takeaway here, right?
I mean, but what could possibly go wrong with injecting yourself with a drug by some company that has immunity from prosecution by the U.S. government that actively rewrites your genetic code? What could possibly go wrong?
I don't think it. Oh, it's sort of it sort of rewrites your genetic code.
Yeah, it does. I mean,
not the whole thing, but part of it. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's mRNA. I mean, that's what they do. John D. Rockefeller would know more about this than either one of us do, for sure. But I mean, my understanding is that's what it does. It does rewrite a part of your genome. Yeah. And the fact is that they cannot be sued if they screw something up.
I mean, I think
that should tell you all that you need to know.
No, I get it. But I mean, I think it is also insanely cool that there's going to be, you can edit out cancer. That sounds great to me,
Yeah. But then though, you'd be losing all that profit, all that market share. So even if you could do it, would you?
Well, I would.
Well, I mean, keep in mind, what is your job? Your job is to provide profits for your shareholders. If you're the CEO, that's your job.
True. That is true. That is your job.
So cancer is one of the largest profit makers that you have. So even if you are able to do this, you definitely would not do it for the population at large. You would do it for the very rich and the very important, and everybody else would be screwed.
True. Yeah, I mean, I guess I guess the implication here is that normally you're supposed to have all the evidence out in the initial release so that financial analysts can understand exactly whether they should go long or go short on this stock. And I guess what this represents is sort of the broification of big pharma, right? Where it's like less evidence based and it's more hype based what I think I see here.
Let me see. Just doing some read here. So John D. Rockefeller has a question. I missed a lot of the read. Are the vaccines still in trials, or is it going public with accelerated testing?
It's no, it's still in trial. These are the results of phase 3 trial. So, I mean, it's a pretty extensive. It's like they tested it on 40,000 people. That's not nothing. So yeah, but that's where things are.
Yeah, and I'm sorry, I'm kind of looking at the chat here. It's harder to do this whenever you're trying to read the chat and co-host. And Manchild saying that Rumble's now keeping 20% of the Rumble Premium. I've not seen that. I have to do some research on that because I know that Rumble Premium is that's different from the subscriptions that people are able to make. So with the subscriptions, is the credit card company, they take their swipe fee, but the show gets 100% of it. But there is supposed to be profit sharing for Rumble Premium, but what that breaks out to, no one knows. Rumble doesn't say, and also they don't say if you get it unless someone signs up through your link. So they're very opaque with what is it they say.
Can't trust the Canadians.
No, and then Peter says, my daughter joined the Marines in 2029. I tried to steer her to the Coast Guard, no dice. She was in for 4 years and had no respect for the leaders, but loves her fellows.
Well, that's what it's about, right? It's about the camaraderie.
No. I mean, that's why they're doing this whole buddy system. They're trying to get people to go in and serve with their friends. And it's just, kind of like, well, you're a student of history, Ted. When the Sullivans went down with their ship, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Just so everybody, you go in, serve with your friends, serve with your family. It's all going to be fine. The uniforms look nice. We're still very good at propaganda, if nothing else.
That's the one thing we've got going for us. Well, it reminds me, I talked to Pat Tillman's mother after, I had that controversial cartoon about him. And Mary Tillman told me that, like, the reason that he joined, Pat Tillman joined and ultimately was killed in Afghanistan by friendly fire, was because his brother had enlisted first. And Pat was against the war, both Iraq and Afghanistan, but he was desperate to try to save his brother's life. So the recruiter told Pat that he could enlist and be assigned to the same unit as his brother, and that he'd be able to, like, watch his back and protect him. Obviously, that's a lie. They did not. Assign him to the same unit. Although they were both sort of nearby in separate units, and the brother kind of heard on the radio, I guess, that Pat had been shot. And so, I mean, can you imagine the horror of that, right? Like, knowing, like, this is happening, like, on the other side of the ridge, but I can't help my brother who came to supposedly save me. But can you imagine the line of shit that the recruiter in Arizona told Pat Tillman? Like, don't worry, you can go and, like, watch your brother's back, and, you'll all be together. It'll be like in familia. I mean, it's total crap. It's so, I mean, it's like there ought to be a law against the shit that military recruiters tell their victims.
Well, recruiters have a quota.
Yeah.
I mean, they're just like, it's like any other sales job. You have a quota, you get bonuses if you perform. If you don't perform, then you get axed. So, I mean,
that's you're motivated to sell them a line of shit, just to tell them anything, whatever. There's just words. Who cares?
Yeah.
And that's get it done.
And that's what I'm trying to get Thomas to understand. But no, he turns 17 tomorrow. He knows everything.
Of course.
No, what do I know? I'm just some 49-year-old guy who talks for a living and then streams video games. Seriously, what the hell do I know? It's not like I've ever had any trials to go through.
Right. And also experience, and also, like, hearing these many, many stories. I mean, Montana's got to have a higher percentage of the population to be veterans than many other states like New York. And it's like, there's got to be older dudes who've served that maybe could talk to him and tell him what it's actually like.
Well, he talked to some people at church yesterday. And
that's good.
And the pastors just be careful, because a lot of Christians who go into the military, they stumble and they fall into the temptations of drugs and alcohol and women. Just guard your testimony, protect it. The older veterans, just like, it was the best time I ever had. What? I'm proud of you. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know, Ted. I'm losing my family.
I'm so sorry, Robby. How's Kizzy doing with this?
We're both worried. She's just like, I don't want him to go. I don't want him to go. I don't want him to get hurt. I don't want him to die. But on the flip side, though, he's a young man now. He has agency. We've taught him. we've taught him everything we possibly can, and at the end of the day, this is the worst part. It is his choice. You can't bubble wrap someone from life. I
No.
wish you could, but you
Yeah.
can't.
Sadly.
And I don't know. Basically, he goes, and it's like a form of light enlistment. He can't be deployed until he turns 18, but he's able to go ahead and start doing a lot of the education, able to start doing a lot of the classes. He'll have to go on to Missoula, select an MOS he wants to get into. He wants to go into recon. This is what he wants to do. And it's just like, no, a year ago, you wanted to be a rancher. He said, now there's no money there. And he's right.
Well,
There's,
for
there's,
now, I mean, ranching, the money comes and goes, right?
I don't know, man. It's just, there's Ted, you've been here. There's no jobs.
Yeah, it's sparse. It's sparse it's light on the ground, no question. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about. We'll talk about this later. Here and one-on-one, I'm sure. Okay, so newly. Do you want Jaws?
Sure, we can Jaws. Sorry, I was looking at the chat.
No, my apologies.
No, you don't have to apologize. It's me. It's me screwing up. Where the hell did the Jaws go?
Oh, don't worry about it. We'll just assume it's Jaws. All right, Jaws.
Oh, got it.
Okay.
Success.
Woohoo! All right. Newly declassified FBI records are adding an uncomfortable new layer to the relationship between former Congressman Eric Swalwell and Chinese intelligence operative Chinese Fang, also known as Fang Fang. The documents say Fang didn't just socialize with politicians. Investigators said she facilitated a scheme involving campaign contributions, access to Swalwell, and congressional internships. FBI financial analysis has concluded that Fang orchestrated conduit contributions to Swalwell's campaign on numerous occasions between 2013 and 2014, including money allegedly directly traceable to Fang herself, a foreign national prohibited from contributing to federal election campaigns. Investigators also recorded an allegation that Fang offered to arrange a meeting with Swalwell for a $5,000 campaign contribution and said she could also arrange an internship in his office, but that would cost more. According to the record, Swalwell acknowledged that he was intimately physically involved with Fang Fang. When questioned about people she recommended for internships, he reportedly said he believed they were coming through some Asian American political organization. The FBI found insufficient evidence that Swalwell himself knowingly participated in a quid pro quo scheme and removed him as a subject of that investigation. The House Ethics Committee also closed its investigation in 2023 and didn't take any action. So this was a dude who sat on the House Intelligence and Homeland Security Committees, who apparently, didn't really commit a crime, but nevertheless allowed a suspected foreign intelligence operative close proximity to his personal life, and to his penis, apparently, political fundraising, and potentially his congressional staffing. So, pretty bad.
Well, her mistake is being Chinese, not Israeli.
then it would be like mandatory.
No. Well, because no, one's legal, one's not. Explain
True.
it to me. Seriously, that's the case that I would make if I was Swalwell. If I was doing this. Listen, yes, I got honeypotted by a cute lady, and she was giving me money and giving me the goodies between her legs at the same time. And if it's okay for Israeli honeypots to do it, it's perfectly fine for the Chinese to do it too.
That's the defense.
Of course.
Mm-hmm.
It's honest.
It's a defense.
It's better to say, "Oh, I didn't know." Of course you knew. She's a Chinese national. You can tell. It's okay. What you could do is just say, "Well, I thought you worked for AIPAC." There are Chinese Jews.
There are. It's true. That wouldn't. Yeah. It's bear in mind also, whatever the government is releasing here may or may not be true, right?
My default setting is never believe anything that the government says. If they told me that the sky is blue, I would call them liars.
Well, that's
because
where I
they
am.
just lied so much.
I don't believe anything they say.
So, I mean, listen, all I can say is that more power to them. If the Chinese are able to do this because some married guy can't keep it in his pants, I mean that's the that's great power politics. That's how you play the game. You go out and you get the goods however it is that you can. You could scrape data from data centers. You can send out your spies to go steal this stuff. And frankly, if Chinese espionage was such a major problem, why would the United States bring in millions of Chinese students every year to study at our universities?
That's a great question, actually. It
Well, I mean,
really is.
think about it. If Chinese espionage is such a problem, then why do we have Chinese nationals coming from the mainland to go work in our laboratories and study in our universities? If it's such a problem,
Right. Right. No, I mean, I'm not arguing with you. You're right. It's,
yeah,
I mean, obviously we're not that worried about it.
no, it's retarded. It's a nothing burger.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, it is. All right. Are we ready to Jaws? Shall we Jaws again?
Let's do it. That's Jaws' puppy.
All right. And if you're just joining us, you're watching TMI with Ted Rall and Manila Chan. Robby West filling in for Manila. Manila will be back tomorrow. Q&A show for Deprogram coming up in an hour and a half at 12 noon Eastern time. And thanks for tuning into that. That'll be Jamal and myself and Robby as well. Ask us anything and everything that you want to talk about. All right, here we go.
Can I be a trans Manila?
you can identify as a Manila.
Listen, I can identify as Manila today.
Okay, you are the new Manila.
I am Manila Chan. Behold my squinty eyes and my flowing black locks.
There you go. All right. We will pretend that you're every aspect of her. Okay, here we go.
Awesome.
Nearly 60 years after housing discrimination was deemed against the law, the geography that it created may still be influencing something as ordinary and consequential as what Americans can buy for dinner. A new study in the journal Obesity examined nearly 9,600 census tracts in 201 counties in 38 states, comparing modern food environments with the federal redlining maps created back in the 1930s. Those maps graded neighborhoods for mortgage risk, often penalizing areas with large Black or immigrant populations and helping to determine where banks would and would not invest. Researchers, of course, as you probably know, have found that neighborhoods historically redlined as risky are still significantly more disadvantaged today. But the study complicates the familiar idea of the food desert. Using structural equation modeling, researchers examined pathways including housing, transportation, education, crime, wealth, social cohesion, and the built environment. Poor housing conditions, neighborhood disorder, weaker social cohesion, and criminal justice-related disadvantage were associated with reduced access to healthier food retailers. Transportation, wealth, and income were not statistically significant pathways in the model. Education produced a more complicated, counterintuitive association. That suggests that simply dropping a supermarket into a struggling neighborhood may not help the problem. Businesses respond to the neighborhoods around them. Crime, bad housing, deteriorated infrastructure, and decades of underinvestment will shape whether grocery stores open, remain profitable, or shut down and leave, while fast food outlets fill the vacuum. Researchers say the study is observational and can't prove that redlining directly created today's food environment. It also doesn't measure everything that determines whether food is accessible, including its price and its quality. But obviously, redlining continues to have a market effect.
Yeah, well, it's kind of like that debate that I had with JT. Yes, about a week ago now. It's talking about, well, people with diabetes who are fat, they're fat and have diabetes because they chose to be fat and diabetic. And I push back, like, no, if all you can afford is crappy food, if that's all you have access to is food that's literally poison, then is it really your fault that the food that you eat is making you sick? The answer is no. It's not like you have a choice. No, if you're able to go to Wendy's, and if Wendy's has, and I'm using Wendy's because I like Wendy's, If you go to Wendy's and if they have an organic free range chicken sandwich with no hormones in it for the same price as the chicken that's made out of sawdust and chemicals from Monsanto, and you choose the Monsanto burger, then yes, I would say you are making a life choice that's poor, that's you're going to regret later on. That's
Hmm.
not the reality. People get the food they're able to afford. It's just like the St. Mary's example. If it's $4 for a cup of ramen, how much is it going to be for a bag of organic lettuce, if provided you even get one, or some kind of or a ranch-fed beef from the non-existent herds?
It's a reasonable question. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's true. I mean, if you've ever, I mean, I have lived in food deserts. I've lived in like the barrio section of Upper Manhattan, and back in the 80s and 90s, and like literally you'd have to hike, you'd have to hoof it like miles and take a bus with your bags of groceries. So it's possible, but in reality, no one's going to really do that. You're going to go to the delis and bodegas and crappy supermarkets, if you have any, in your neighborhood. That's how you're going to eat. I mean, realistically, people are not going to go commute for food. And so, it's kind of like, well, it's a choice. I mean, it's sort of a choice, but like, you can't be surprised when people take the path of least resistance, because that's what human beings do.
Well,
It's in our evolutionary code.
well, it might be a choice in a city that has mass transit, but if you're in Columbia Falls and the closest town is 20 miles away, if you don't have a car, what choice do you have? You can't Uber it. Maybe it costs you more than the meal.
Right.
I don't know. It doesn't make any sense. It's just this is just more of the ways that the economy is just simply failing the vast majority of people.
That's true. And I mean, I'm channeling my inner Jamarl here, but it's amazing to me how little the American people and the voters seem to be willing to do about it. And I don't mean like, oh, you should run out and vote for Democrats. I'm just like sort of saying, it's amazing that they're not out in the street. It's amazing that they're not furious. It's amazing that they're not articulating that rage. They're just sort of like passive.
Well, you know why, don't you? Honestly,
SSRIs in the water.
it's all the drugs, man. It's just ask yourself a question. So when they defeated the Celestial Empire, uh, that's China for people who don't read books. Uh, in the first Opium War, there are a lot more Chinese than what there were British in the area. Why didn't the Chinese rise up in just in overwhelming numbers and overthrow the Manchus then, and also drive out the foreigners? It's because they were too stoned. There's a reason why in the 80s the U.S. used Afghanistan. One of the reasons why the Soviets went in there was because of all the opium that we were flooding into the Soviet Union.
Right.
Drugs decimate the population of a country. That's not a racist thing to say. That's a statement of fact. That's a historical truth. People always talk about the smallpox on the blankets. No, it's more dangerous than smallpox than a blanket. Fentanyl coming across your borders, or opium coming across your borders. The weed shop, the dispensary that's on the corner, that's driving the testosterone count and your men down. The
And
people
that's
who
also, and the weed shop that's like clearly now, it's the official scientific consensus that it is physically, not just psychologically addicting, which anyone who really is near anyone who does weed can probably attest to.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the reasons why, and I've caught flack on it before. I'll catch flack with it now. I 100% fully support the death penalty for drug dealers because they are selling a poison that is a social pathogen, and it will destroy a people. It nearly destroyed the Chinese. The Chinese civilization is over 2,000 years old, and the British came in a frog's hair of destroying China with
True.
opium.
True.
And why is it that why is it that we here in the United States have this tolerance to this crap, this poison? I do not understand it. I do not understand it. But to answer your question, why are people not so mad? Why are people not raging? They're too stoned.
That could well be.
Well, do you have another? That's my theory. Do
No,
you
I
have
mean,
another?
honestly, I think it's the SSRIs in the water and it's the weed. I mean, notice, right? The stuff that's illegal in terms of illegal drugs is, it's stimulants, right?
Yeah,
I mean, like, basically they're pushing depressants, booze, weed,
yeah, but
all that stuff.
alcohol. But at least alcohol.
Shrooms,
But at least alcohol though can make people mad.
true.
I mean, that's the opposite effect of what opium does. It just puts you to sleep. Same
Yeah.
way with fentanyl.
Hmm.
Listen, if you
True.
want, one of the reasons I think that, and if I ever got a chance to meet your grandfather, I bet you he would vouch. He'd probably vouch for me on this. So one of the reasons why the French Resistance was so militant and so gung ho and so in your face, willing to burn the world down, is because they smoked a lot of cigarettes and drunk a lot of booze.
Well, he certainly did both in vast amounts. And he definitely liked to kill Nazis. So there's that. All right, let's Jaws and do the last story.
Let's do it. Let me see here. Make it pop up. Jaws swipe. There we go. So there's the icon disappears is what happens, and then you gotta wait for have to wait for the thing to respawn before it will click. Come on, you
That's
bastard.
weird.
There it goes. There it goes. Well,
All
I
right.
also got to. Hey, you also got to remember, I'm using the Stellar Montana internet.
Oh, right. Good point. It has to go through some what's left of the beef herd. Okay. Gen Z has apparently looked at capitalism, checked the rent, checked the grocery bill, and left it on red. New CBS YouGov poll finds just 9% of Americans under age 30 have a very positive view of capitalism. By comparison, 33% of Americans over the age of 65 feel that way. Meanwhile, 41% of people under 30 see capitalism negatively. Socialism, on the other hand, is go. A separate Cato Institute poll found 53% of Americans aged 18 to 29 prefer socialism compared to 20 to 45% who prefer capitalism. DSA leaders, that's the Democratic Socialists of America, say younger Americans simply don't share older Americans' instinctive faith in the existing economic system. Gen Z, of course, entered adulthood amid soaring housing costs, student debt, inflation, and a labor market increasingly threatened by automation and AI. An Urban Institute survey found that 65% of people think their generation faces tougher economic circumstances than previous generations. By the way, I think they're right, and I'm saying this as a Gen Xer who was the first totally downwardly mobile generation after the boomers. While 52% say that they must take greater financial risks just to get ahead, more than a quarter of Gen Z investors now consider sports betting part of their long-term financial strategy. What? While more than half have redirected money intended for investing into gambling. That's really sick and sad. And I again, it's like the food desert story. I don't blame the victims here. This online sports betting should be illegal. And it was, and it should still be. But basically, capitalism's not working for these younger people. And I don't blame them for basically determining that it sucks. It does suck. I would argue that it inherently sucks and that we're just at a moment where it's really clear to most people. I hope that, I hope this trend just continues. I don't know who these 33% of people are who think that capitalism is working for them. I don't know any, but our system blows.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, if this is capitalism, I don't want it. I mean,
No.
how does mortgaging your future make it? That's no future at all. All you're doing is wrecking the generations that are going to be coming after you. Our former chairman of the Federal Reserve, he actually told the truth. We was talking about the debt. He was being interviewed, and he was just like, someone, the reporter asked him, "So what are the consequences of this debt?" He said, "Well, what it is it's putting we're borrowing from the future."
Well, yeah, that's what debt is.
Well, at that point, how can you even have a society if you can't build anything anymore? If the only if the only thing that a country builds is data centers, maybe the occasional bomb to go bomb some other country on the other side of the world, and the dream of joining the Marine Corps for a better life, if that's all you have, is that's not successful. That's not a successful model. You're not going to get married and have kids. You're not going to be able to have a family. You're not going to have a cohesive society.
No, true. I think there was a story in today's Politico talking about how how the tech sector is looking at the opposition to data farms, which is one of those, Robby and Ted, across the political aisle, everybody is on the same team opposition. People are opposed to these data centers and to the rise of AI on the left and on the right? So there's common ground there. And some of the bros think, oh, this is a temporary election year thing, and that everybody's against it right now, but it'll all go away next year, presumably after the envelopes of cash change hands in the Capitol Hill men's room. Maybe. Others are saying like, no, this goes to something much more existential. I believe that's true. I think that I think what this issue is less about data farms per se, and it's more about sort of the economic disquiet. In other words, AI and the data farm thing is happening at a time when people have just had too much and they can't absorb any more abuse. And so therefore, this is coming along, and this is where the opposition is materializing and focused upon. So to me, it's less about like, oh, specifically AI. It's more about just this moment in time after decades and decades of increasing income and wealth inequality that's now culminating where we are now.
I don't know, man. I mean, it's just. I think there's probably some of it. I think there's a lot of symbolism because a lot of these data centers are being built in rural places.
Mm-hmm.
There's some been farmland, that kind of thing. So if you're driving down, like say US 90, and you see a place where there used to be canola fields, and then you see this big old data center, it's going to be bringing in jobs. So the jobs are going to H-1B visa holders.
Jobs
from India. It's not even people who live there.
Right. True.
So then you have to ask that question. So these are new jobs, but these are not jobs for Americans. Also, they're getting tax breaks from the county and from the state. Meanwhile, normal people work here with no jobs. The tax man still comes by every April. Pony up. You better pay up. If you don't pay up, we're going to put you in jail. Meanwhile, this data center over here, staffed by a bunch of foreigners, driving up your utility rates, which, by the way, you already can't afford, are going to keep going. We're going to keep on going higher. Oh, by the way, if you oppose immigration, then you're a racist. People just look at this. There's only so much that you're able to take, and so then what you're going to do is that you're going to pick the one thing, or at least a couple of things that you're able to physically see, and that you said that right there is the problem. It's not so much the data center. The data center is not the problem. The new data centers, they don't pollute water. They're actually air cooled. So that's one of the reasons why the power bills are going up, is because they use more electricity because they're not fluffing through water. They use these big old honking fans, kind of like a giant heat sink is how they work with their NVIDIA racks. It's actually pretty neat. But that's one of the reasons why they're looking at doing individualized small nuclear reactors to power the data centers. That way they're off the grid, they can actually sell electricity back to the town. The issue is, though, it's not so much the data center. It's what the data center represents. It represents a government that is out of touch, that's destroying what you're able to actually see. That's a good metaphor for the country.
Mm.
As a lot of people can't think abstract.
And it's empty. It's like a big empty thing. Like you drive by a factory that used to employ thousands of people, and it's closed. Then you drive by this brand new open thing, and it's empty. There's no one working in there, right? So, I mean, it's bleak. And here, I found this piece. So here we go. This is some tech industry advocates maintain that the pushback against AI hubs is a fleeting storm. generated by candidates seeking wedge issues for November. But others call that foolish wishful thinking. AI is going to be a massive issue for the presidential election in a way that technology has never been an issue. A rep from a major AI company told Politico, adding, nobody wants to lose their job, and they're already feeling squeezed, while these very, very rich people who are richer than anything we have ever seen in the history of Earth are making more. And I think people are sick and tired of that.
Well, Elon Musk is predicting within 10 years, the vast majority of people in the United States are going to be unemployed. And he said the American government needs to figure out a way to deal with this, because if they don't, it's going to explode.
Yeah, he recommended, Elon Musk recommended, I don't know if he still feels this way, but he used to advocate not a UBI, universal basic income, but like a universal living income, which is much higher. In other words, like you would be able to not work and still pay your bills. Because after all, I mean, the economy will still be generating the same amount of productivity. So so the money's still there, right? It's just because you're not working personally doesn't mean that your economy is still not working. So they could pay you to stay home.
Listen, productivity is going to triple with AI.
Yeah,
Right. With the merger between so you have AI, so that's what you see online, with the Groks and Fang, the AI that I'm building, everything else. Where it's going to happen is the merger between AI and robotics. This is something I've been watching. And they're well on their way. With the advent of 5G, with the 5G internet, you can do some really amazing things because the data stream is so much denser. You're able to transfer larger packets of data than ever before. You will not need people to do the vast majority of jobs, and some machines will be built to repair the other machines. The Chinese are kind of playing with this already. Mr. Lee in the chat, I bet you can back me up on this. A lot of the government-owned farms in China, they don't have farmers anymore. They are using drones. They're using robots to go through using GPS. They map out everything, and they do all the work. And that's one of the reasons why so many people are going into the cities, and that's giving rise to a new problem that the Chinese are dealing with right now, what they call dry marriages. Basically, it's people who are married, but they're not having sex. The birth rate is imploding because the cost of living is still going up because all the people who are going into the city creating scarcity, and because of the uncertainty, they're roommates. There's no sex, there's no intimacy, there's no children. And one advantage the Chinese at least have is that they have a coherent culture and a history and a people, and they have an authoritarian government that's able to step in and solve this problem. Whereas we have government run by the bankers, and they'll be like, well, eat cake.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that is how it is. So I guess here's a question, right? Like, is this an overreaction against the wrong industry at the wrong time? Is it possible that AI is actually, it's the technology of the future, that if the United States doesn't build up enough data farms going forward, that we'll be left behind, we'll lose our competition to China, Europe, India, et cetera, and that we're kind of fucking ourselves over by being Luddites, and that, overall, yes, we need to work on making our economy more equal and equitable, but the answer is not to block data farms. Or is it that we just need, I think that's probably true, but at the same time, I think, you basically you take your opposition, your political anger where you can get it. And this seems to be something that we can all get behind. So this is where it is.
Well, the thing is, from an infrastructure perspective, it makes more sense to build your data centers in the abandoned buildings in New York City than it does to build in farmland in upstate New York, because you already have the infrastructure for it. The problem is
New York City abandoned buildings are tiny. They're not big enough to, you know what I mean?
Just make them vertical, because you got to keep in mind the new data centers, Ted. You don't have to pump all this water. It's they're all air cooled. Right. So you don't need this huge, massive complex. Sure, the more that you have, the better.
Yeah, you just have this weird, sort of like the phone company in New York has these old switching station buildings that have no windows, like the old AT&T buildings, and you see them. They're like, wow, this is weird. This is a 30-story building with no windows, and it's just switching stuff for the phone company.
Yeah, that's what you would do. I mean, all you got to do is just go straight up. I mean, that's the solution.
But
And
that real estate is so expensive. That's why they don't do it there.
well, that's the problem, and that's part of the pushback. So you're coming over to rural America to the places where the people literally cannot afford the higher utility rates that this is going to cost, with no political, with zero political representation at all, with no political power, the weakest people in the country, being told, sit down, shut up, and take it, eat your $4 ramen, and be thankful that you have these H-1B visa holders from India coming over to manage these things, since you're too stupid to do it yourselves. Sit down and shut up. That's where the anger is coming from.
So let's talk about capitalism and socialism. I mean, like, I think the problem is, I mean, so Americans, I think it's fair to say, don't like the current system, whatever you want to call it, right? And it is obviously sort of gangster capitalism, crony capitalism. But the question is, do they understand socialism well enough to be able to know what they're supporting without having, that defined by capitalists into thinking that they're not for that? I mean, in other words, it's like, is this battle of isms real or not?
I don't know. How many socialists do you know of actually know what socialism is?
Oh, the socialists I know do know what it is, but I don't know how widespread that is.
Yeah, but that's my point, though. So, I mean, you ask somebody, if you ask people who say, yeah, sure, I support socialism, what does that actually mean? Does that mean that the government would take control and you would actually have basically kind of the way that the corporation works, where you are paid a dividend, you being the taxpayer, for based off your taxes, for a vital service like rail and planes and healthcare? Or does that mean that the government takes over everything?
No, the government doesn't take over everything under socialism.
No, I know, but that's the point I'm making, though. I mean, if you ask like your average 22-year-old kid over in school, what is socialism, they really couldn't tell you. Just like they couldn't tell you what
so the government takes over major industries that are, especially those that are considered essential services. So defense, education, medicine, all, pharmaceuticals, all that stuff is state owned. But, I mean, like your local restaurant, no. The discotheque, no. That stuff is not, that stuff is all private.
Yeah, but a lot of people who support socialism, I'm getting this just watching stuff over online. Take that for what it is. Think that socialism means that there's no longer any private property, or that you cannot pass down your property to your heirs if you do have it. You kind of get grandfathered in. The destruction of the landed gentry, for lack of a better thing, like no generational wealth, no generational transfer of power, that the government would just take care of all of these things. And so I guess that's the question, is how many people who said they're socialists even understand what it is that they're advocating for?
Yeah, I mean, that's impossible to know, right?
Well, that's the problem. It's just like, what does America First mean? I can tell you what it means to me, but it doesn't mean that's what it's going to mean to anybody else.
Right.
I'm sure if you ask Mark Levin, he would tell you he's America First, because he wants a strong America, to go over there and work with Israel, make the world safe for democracy, and be the unchallenged hegemon and bring everybody down to their knees. America First means you're at the top of the pile. Whereas for me, America First means is that the interests of the American people matter more than foreign affairs do.
Yeah, that's what I think of it. Yeah, I don't want it to be America telling other countries what to do.
I don't either.
Yeah, it's not our business. It's not our place.
No,
and I want good relations with foreign countries, and that's not how you get it.
Yeah,
but
we do have we do have some paid chats and some other comments we should probably hit.
Let's do those, and then we'll get out of here. All right.
Yeah, sounds good. We're trying to get this thing going faster than what happens with the real Manila. So Macadon asks, and thank you for the $1, Robby, why the Marines, not other services? They're less in line of fire. Hope he's okay. It's because he thinks the Marines are badass. They look cool in their uniforms. They must be a part of an elite military force. That's what he said. Well-dressed nerd, thank you for the $2. I served in the army, got so much from it, and my views on U.S. empire have always aligned with most conversations here. But I don't regret my army service. You raised him well, Robbie. He will be fine. Manchild, thank you for the dollar. This will be interesting. Use your Christian roots to pin that dang old Ten Commandments shit about honoring your father and your mother. Use that bullshit to your advantage. I have tried. Uh, John Doe, Manila, show me your boobs. I'm going to have to do the whole Ted thing. If you want to do the trans Manila boobs, you've got to pony up. I'm not as expensive as Ted is. I'm a little bit cheaper whore. $500. I will show you my man bits. Jenna Tillis, no shade to Robbie, but I prefer vanilla Manila still. Well, she's yellow, so she's not vanilla. So that's racist. You're whitewashing her.
True.
Check your privilege.
True.
MC Calling says Pat Tillman expressed deep disillusionment with the geopolitical realities of the war. This fucking war is so illegal. We are guarding poppy fields, and ordinary people should not be here. And I agree. And that poison is being sent here and poisoning our people here in this country.
That is what he said. Yeah, that's true.
Drug dealers, and this is a hill I will die on. If you sell drugs, if I ever became a dictator, I would put a
God
bullet
help
in
us
your
all.
head. I would shoot you. Personally, I would shoot you because of the damage you're causing to the country. And Phrasmataz, question for you, Ted. Did you know A. Wyatt Mann? And here he just passed away. I do not like his racist art style, etc., but I like Tom Metzger, who he worked with.
I don't even know who that is. I'm embarrassed to admit. I'm looking it up.
Yeah, I don't know.
It might come up, okay.
Yeah. Personally, I don't think Pat.
How weird!
I don't think Pat Tillman was killed by friendly fire. I think he was murdered.
Okay. Okay, so he was Nick. His Wyatt Mann is I guess like White Man is a pseudonym for Nick Bugas. He was an American documentary filmmaker. As a cartoonist, he used the pen name A. Wyatt Mann to produce racist, anti-Semitic, anti-feminist, and homophobic cartoons. Let's see. In the magazine War, operated by Tom Metzger. I know who Tom Metzger was. I want to see if there's any pictures of these cartoonists, of cartoons.
If you do, if I'm on, I'll throw up on the screen. I like racist cartoons. More racist, the better.
Yeah, I'm not seeing any. I think it's going to be hard to find these. All right. Yeah, there's so far. All right. Yeah. I'm going to. Yeah, I know. I'll look. I know. I'll just do a Google image search and see if I find anything. I mean, I have to be careful. Oh, I have seen these cartoons. Yeah. I'm not putting these up. Sorry.
That's fine. We can find them them ourselves.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, it's like hook-nosed Jew, big-lipped black. That kind of shit.
Oh. It's funny.
I mean, the cartoons are definitely competently drawn. For whatever that's worth. It's like, well, the quality, the production quality of this racist shit is anti-Semitic tripe is not bad. It's like, okay, whatever.
I think racism is probably the only acceptable form of comedy nowadays, except for the highest form of comedy.
Oh,
especially
man.
among younger generations, like the teenagers. It's because it's been so untouchable for so long.
Well, look, there's a big difference between race-infused humor and like what used to be called ethnic humor and actual racist commentary, right? I mean, obviously, it's all the difference in the world.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of like, if you remember the old Bugs Bunny from back in the day with World War II, and they had this to really radicalize the little Japanese soldier, or they had Daffy Duck throwing Hail Hitlers and stuff. I think there's a place for it. People are just too sensitive. It's okay. Have some fun with it. You can draw yourself a pasty white guy. It's all right.
All right. Well,
people are just too serious.
Well, with that, I have to go pee and have some eggs and get ready for a Q&A show. So we're doing Q&A show for a deprogram in 58 minutes at 12 noon Eastern time, live on YouTube and Rumble. Thanks everyone for liking, following, sharing, and supporting TMI, and we hope to see you over at Deprogram in just shy of an hour. Robbie, thanks for everything, and then you're taking us out.
Yep, I think I got the right button. So there's TMI closing and outro. I'm gonna click outro and see what happens. See y'all later.
That'll work.